Hey, y'all, and happy Friday. Welcome to the Happy Hour Express edition of the Stripe Show podcast, where we bring you everything you need to know from this week in golf in about 15 minutes or less. Today, as you can see, I have a lovely guest, someone who's really moving the needle in golf media, host and producer for Golf Digest, Golf TV, NCAA Division II champion. Don't think I wasn't going to mention that. At Rollins back in the day. Most importantly to her, I'm sure, my high school golf teammate and dear friend, Hally Leadbetter. Hally, what's up, my girl?
Samantha Marks, wonderful to see you. It is, I know. I mean, back in the day when we were grinding in those 9-hole matches after school, look at us now.
Seriously, who would have thought? But you just moved to LA. How are things out there going for you so far?
Things are good. Things are good. You know, it's I was with my parents in Florida for about a year, so it's a bit weird. There's no, yelling in this apartment. I love my family, but we are a rowdy bunch. So it's a little quieter, but I do miss them. But happy to be here. Excited to play some LA golf and meet some new people. So looking forward to it.
What's first on your bucket list as far as golf goes? Have you played yet? Where are you going to play?
So I've only been here for about 3 days, and I've been unpacking the whole time. So have not played. I've hit up the driving ranges a few times, some lit night driving ranges, which have been fun. Yeah. But hoping to actually. So I'm on the east side of LA, and I drove past like this really neat par 3 course last night. So I'm all for the Rivieras and the big name courses, Wilshires and LA Country Club and everything. Like, if anybody wants to have me out, I'll be there. But I'm really excited to play some of the other muni courses around here as well.
I love that. I'm going to have to come visit you because I've actually never been to LA somehow.
Oh my God, you got to come. Let me figure it out where everything is, and then I'll show you around.
Yeah, get moved in, get all settled. But let's get right to the topic at hand, why I invited you on the podcast today. We like to keep it short, like I told you. So give me kind of your, off the top of your head, thoughts about the new golf media, the modern golf media debate going on, and what you're doing with brands like USGA, many others. I know you work with a lot of brands to kind of widen their audience in a modern way. And I guess I would also ask is, why is that important right now?
Well, it's so important, especially, in this day and age where we're all about diversity. And I just feel like golf is a sport that, generally it's a bunch of older white gentlemen, and, there's nothing wrong with that. Love them. But if we want to continue growing and evolving as a game, we really do need to be catering to these other demographics. So that's why you look at an organization like the USGA, their media day that was last week, they invited the traditional golf media. They had Golf Digest, Golf Week, Golf Magazine. They were all there. They were all doing their traditional coverage, which is incredibly important. But then you had people there like Roger Steele and the comedian Becky Robinson that can reach these totally different demographics that these other, I work for Golf Digest, I work for a traditional outlet, that we just maybe can't reach or haven't quite reached yet. So I don't think there's anything wrong with having both. We need both to be able to continue to grow.
That's what I think is such an interesting topic. And part of the conversation is there's kind of this stigma that it's like the only way is to cover the sport by posting the gamer article from the Wells Fargo Championship. Well, not everybody wants to read that. And that really only caters to one specific hardcore golf fan. You're not going to get somebody into the game through that. Would you agree?
No, absolutely not. I mean, listen, I play golf. I would consider myself like a hardo golfer. And like very rarely am I going to read the gamer on the Wells Fargo. Like, obviously I would probably already know through social who won it. And I want to see more fun content. I want to see, Justin Bieber in his dreadlocks and white caddy uniform. I think that's hilarious. I think that's cool. Somebody who's a fan of Justin Bieber is going to see that and be like, Justin Bieber plays golf. That's so neat. I want to give it a try. And, whether you like Justin Bieber or not, it doesn't matter. It's not for you. I think that's where I find a lot of the issues are, that any, traditional person that works in the media, they're like, oh, well, it's not good content. It's not something that I would enjoy. I'm like, well, this isn't about you. Like, golf already has you. We're thankful that you're here. Continue on carrying on what you do, but we're trying to reach other people and we want to continue to grow the sport. So we can't just keep doing the same thing if we want to continue to grow our audience.
So why do you think that we can't coexist very well? Is that a fair question?
Yeah, no, I think it comes down. I think people are just insecure. People are scared. They think they're gonna, I don't know if it's, maybe it's even a subconscious thing. They don't even know that they're scared. But anybody gets insecure. They see other people doing cool things, getting invited to do cool things. And it's like, oh, why am I not there? That means I'm not doing the right thing. And that's not true. I mean, we just talked about how it's important to have both, right? You need tradition, you need this new stuff. And again, if it's not for you, then that's okay. But you don't need to demean content that you don't enjoy. Just because it wasn't made for you and you don't enjoy it doesn't mean that it's bad. It's just different. And that's why you have your content. And that's why this other new content's getting created for these new groups of people that we need in our game to continue to grow and evolve.
It's interesting. I mean, it's a great point because people say they want to grow the game and they say that all they want. And then they kind of, and it's a lot of people. I'm not singling in on one person. This happens all the time on social media where more traditional golfers, older golfers, they want to have things their traditional classic golf way. And they say they want to grow the game. Well, that doesn't go hand in hand because if you want to grow the game, you'll want the future generations to watch it or to be interested in it at least. Yeah. And for example, the pieces that you guys work on with, for example, at the USGA Media Day, who knows what Office fan might have seen that.
Exactly.
Oh my God, that's a really pretty golf course. When is that on? Let me watch that. And that's kind of the goal. You're not catering to the people who want to know about Jordan Spieth's swing issue. Like it's two audiences, right?
Yeah. And we already have that. We have plenty of that content. And if that's what floats your boat, like type that in Google and you'll find it. But this other stuff is what's new and refreshing and how we're going to get more people into this game. I mean, I always go back to, I've been in the golf industry for a long time. My people ask me like, oh, how long have you worked in golf? And I'm like, well, I'm 28 years old. So I've been around for like 28 years. I've grown up in this industry. And I remember I was at a party one time and this girl was like, it was like this cool New York City party. And this girl was like, oh, what do you do? And I was like, I work in golf. And she's like, golf? Like, ugh. And I was like, oh my God, so rude. But I totally forgot like this, and this girl was like this cool, downtown New York City hipster, like, and like that's the type of person that would never really consider golf because the type of content that she's used to seeing that's around golf is, the very traditional stuff, which again is great for a type of audience. But if we want to get new people to consider playing, we have to create new types of content.
And how are you doing that? What kind of types of content are there? I mean, are these new platforms that are coming out like TikTok? Are you guys utilizing that? Is that kind of how you're trying to reach those younger audiences? Or what is kind of the goal when you go out there with, the guy from The Office? Like, what's the goal out there?
Yeah, well, I think the goal, one, I think it comes down to representation, right? Like when you see people like you out there on the course, then you're like, oh, okay. Like it's like, for example, Becky Robinson, who is a hilarious comedian. We had her out at US Open Media Day. She herself is not, a huge golfer. Her dad's a big golfer, but she likes golf and she wants to get more into it, but she's a fairly beginner player. So we had her out at Media Day and the content that she created was hilarious. And her channels, I guarantee you, 90% of her audience does not play golf, does not care about golf, but she's tagging US Women's Open, she's tagging US Open. So now her audience is going to be like, oh, I love Becky Robinson. She's interested in golf. She's interested in the US Open. Oh, maybe I should, sort of pay attention to that. And the same goes with it's so bad. When I interviewed Brian Baumgart, I almost called him Kevin. The same goes for Kevin. Same goes for Brian. Like you said, somebody might see that. It's all about association, right? If you like Brian and you see that he likes golf, then you're going to think, oh, maybe I would like golf too. So I think it's all about association. And it's about finding people like Justin Bieber, like Becky Robinson, like Kevin, like Brian. Like Brian, that, like if you see these people that you admire and you like the content they put out, if all of a sudden they're doing things with golf, you're going to be more apt to take an interest in golf.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think an interesting part of, I was talking to my parents about this the other day is like, we are a more impressionable generation. We grew up following these. I have influencers I've followed for like 10 years, and I feel like so invested in their life. And like, if they tell me to go buy this Amazon fuzzy slipper, so be it. I'm going to buy it. And so it's like, but the people who are more the traditional golf media type, they didn't grow up with Instagram and Twitter and the social media things that we have. So I think that that's another part of it, is that they just see things very differently than we do.
Oh, totally. They do. And again, it's like, that's fine. It's like I look at somebody like my dad who, oh, bless his heart, but like when Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, like not his thing. And that's okay. Like he loves reading Golf Digest, like the actual hard copy. And that's wonderful. That's why we have it, but like digital content, social content, like we at Golf Digest are putting so much effort into those categories as well, because that's where our audience is going to continue to grow, because you and I are used to consuming content in that way, swiping, double tapping, like that's how we consume content. I'm not going to rip out an article in the magazine and send it to you. Like I'm going to copy a link and send it to you, like not saying that like my dad doesn't, or, anybody his age doesn't have a complete grasp on technology, but it's just a different way of consuming content and a different way of sharing things, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. It's just different, and it's not better or worse. It's just different, and we can all exist together.
That's, I think, the biggest point of all of this, is that we can all exist together, and we should, because at the end of the day, that there's not one way that we should or shouldn't do something. And the younger generation is coming up, and they're not going to want to sit and read a column in bed on Sunday night. Like, sorry, that's just not how it is. And I think it kind of brings up, all of this conversation brings up bigger issues. And one of them is golf, like adapting and changing with the times. And that's not just in the media space. That's in, how there's more municipal courses coming up, and how there's more public courses being more lax on dress code. And I mean, you know me, I get in Twitter fights over dress code, music on the course, you name it. It's great. Over it. But where do you think the game is going? Because I really think it's kind of up to us, like people your age and my age, to change a trajectory. And I guess my question would be, what's the balance between keeping the tradition of a very historically stuffy sport and adapting to the times where we're still welcoming new people?
Yeah, it's tough. I think that there's a time and place for tradition. There's also things that, maybe under the guise of tradition, that's not really tradition. It's just outdated and wrong. For example, Pine Valley be only, now accepting women as members, which is fantastic. Like, it's bizarre that we have to celebrate that, but great. That's something that, like, you can call that tradition all you want, but that needs to go, but then when it comes to other things, like, I know we talked on Twitter about dress code. Like, I think it's fine to dress like a golfer, let's not be ridiculous. I know there are certain courses. I think there's one here in LA that like women can't show their ankles. And I'm like, okay, like my ankles are too provocative for you. That's ridiculous. So I think when it comes to tradition, like there's certain things when it comes to golf, like, cool, let's keep them. But there are other things, like, especially when it comes to gender and that sort of thing, that we need to just throw out the window. So one of the really cool things about golf is our history, but I think we also need to be self-aware enough and conscious enough of when it's like, say, okay, it's time for certain things to go.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great way to put it. Is it if it's really tradition, or if it's like a bad habit kind of thing?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Like, are women not allowed in the grill room because of tradition, or are you just being sexist?
Yeah, or are you just an asshole? Like,
yeah, exactly.
No, I think that's a great point. And I think, golf we need to be welcoming to more people in the game. No, we don't need to be wearing gym shorts and t-shirts out there. But at the end of the day, it is a game, right? And there are different ways to enjoy it. And that's what I think a lot of people don't understand now. I mean, I just got my dad to start listening to music on the course, like maybe a year or two ago, and he loves it. He's like, oh man, I used to hate this, and now I can't even play without it. And it's like, if you would just try somebody else's way, And it's all about what makes you enjoy it more. If that means you want to put some low bump in Shania Twain on in the golf cart and it's not hurting anybody else, you do you, sweetie.
Do it.
So
do it.
it's just, I think it comes down to like, having an open mind, right? That's what I think. That's what I think.
And you do it once, and if you don't like music, then don't play with it again. But I'm not going to sit here and bash you for playing golf because of music. I'm just happy that you're out there.
Exactly. And that's all. It all comes back to wanting to grow the game, and whether that's all talk and you just say that because you're supposed to say that, or you really do.
Yeah.
Totally love it. Well, thank you so much, Hally. I think that's all the time we have on Happy Hour Express for the Stripe Show podcast. Thanks again for joining me to break this down, Hally. Love what you're doing and how you're expanding and growing the game. Let's do it again soon, okay?
Let's do it.
Cheers, you guys. Make it a great weekend.